We're live.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon.
Um, hi. Oh, I thought we were gonna say. I thought we were gonna say who we were and everything like that, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Um, I am Richard the 50th, the regional step pope of Northeast Wyoming.
And I am Michael Henderson Andrew Johnny Panic Dorland, prefect of the acceptance of an overwhelming vermicelitude. And we are here as the Cult of Brighter Days, bringing you the good news. And what is the good news for today, Richard?
Well, the good news that I saw for today was that the president had his annual physical, and he's got a fairly clean bill of health, especially considering that he's 80 years old.
Okay. Well, that's
Better shape
good.
than I am.
That's good. I'm not sure about the site that you came up because it says amphetamines or sniffing glue at the very bottom of it. So I'm not really.
Amphetamines are sniffing glue.
Yeah, that's what pops up on my screen. I don't know. Maybe that's a. Maybe that's a. It says among the specifics that might be of interest, O'Connor noted that Biden underwent an extremely detailed neurological exam and passed it with flying colors. Does that mean that he was able to recognize what was it Trump was able to do?
Person, woman, man.
Person, woman, elephant, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the tests administered were more substantive than that, um,
Hmm.
where he uh, had a fairly broad neurological screening. They were able to rule out Parkinson's and
Well,
that kind of thing.
that's good. That's good. Any other specifics?
He's got AFib and hyperlipidemia, which
Well,
are
that's.
both things that I have.
Oh, here's where it says Biden's health report also revealed that he does not partake of alcohol or tobacco, and yet nary a word about amphetamines or sniffing glue. Hmm. Where did you get this? Where's this site from?
Electoralvote.com,
And
electoral-vote.com for those of you who want to check it out. It's a kind of a snarky and certainly left of center website. Initially, uh, their mission was just to track polls for presidential elections so that they could look at state by state electoral vote counts rather than an overall nation horse race type view of the election. But they've, in more recent years, branched out to pretty much all things politics.
huh.
And so it was kind of a slow news day. And so they said, well, okay, let's talk about Biden's annual physical.
Okay,
And
wait a second. Wait a second. We have Chinese balloons flying across the sky, shooting them down with the expensive missiles. Um, and it's a slow news day.
or I may have been thinking of a different day when they were talking about a slow
Well,
news day.
yeah, this isn't like current day news. Yeah, that's
This
just
comes from February 17th.
yeah. And you said snarky website, and so obviously the comment about yet nary a word about amphetamines or sniffing glue obviously plays into the snarkiness of the website's presentation.
Yes.
Um, and then it says, by all indications, O'Connor appears to be a capable and thorough physician and a credit to his profession. That said, we don't think the report means all that much, one way or the other. Unless a president is so impaired that he's ready to resign, then revealing some sort of serious health pattern would just create turmoil for the country. Now, this begs the question going back to the 80s with the status of Ronald Reagan
Hmm.
towards the end of his last, what was it, last year and a half?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Uh, I remember being alive at that time. I don't remember anything particular about his health.
Oh, you don't remember the fact that he had early on said Alzheimer at that time?
Oh, I remember that came out quite a bit later.
Well, it came out quite a bit later, but it happened then, which could account for some of the decisions he made at the time, possibly based on Nancy's reliance on astrology for certain things.
I always just assumed that his staff was running things most of his term.
Yeah, yeah. Which, uh, which honestly, I was glad did not happen during Trump's turn, because despite Trump's, and there's good news right there, is that Trump did not have his staff running most of his stuff, because if his staff ran most of the stuff, we would have been in a worse situation than we actually were, because some of those people were just downright vicious and mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What was it?
Bannon and Miller.
Yeah, Miller especially, because Bannon was, bad in of his own rights, but Miller actually got policy pushed through in the very beginning, which caused problems and everything. But
Mhm.
so that was good news that Trump actually did his job in a way at the beginning, and wow, you can only spin this stuff so positive in a
We,
way.
the country survived
That's positive.
the Trump administration. Um, Maybe a little worse for wear, but we are still the United States.
Well,
We still elect our leaders.
it looks like we might survive the Biden administration, which is good. I wasn't sure about that. Um,
There's no doubt in my mind.
oh, my thoughts were that at least there was somebody at least competent in the vice presidential position if something did happen to Biden and everything. Um, that being said, um, what do you think of? So, what is the best news you can take away from this?
From this is that there's no real indication of serious health problems at this point.
That's it.
The doctor has a good reputation. He doesn't appear to be um, rubber stamping stuff that the president told him to say.
Okay, you got a point there. Okay, but like, what sort of good news is this for me, as not as the head of a Discordian cult, but good news for me as a citizen of this country?
You can expect a fair bit of stability over the next 2 years.
Even with the way the House is working.
Um, the House is not going to do anything over the next 2 years, so there's going to be a lot of Sturm and Drang. But
Well, I think they're gonna raise a publicity. Not to be a naysayer to your good news, but well, and you're right, because anybody who actually understands how the government works realize that whatever they actually got pissed through probably would die with Mitch, because Mitch has pretty much killed anything that's come through, whether it was
and if it's not
Republican
Mitch,
or
it'll be
not.
Schumer.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Mitch still has a lot of power at that spot. I mean, we saw what happened to the guy from Florida, and how Mitch is sort of unforgiving. I think that's about the best way to describe that whole situation there. You saw what happened there, right?
Oh, with Rick Scott?
Yep, from Florida,
Yeah.
where uh, he
Senator
tried
from
to,
Florida?
yep, he tried to challenge Mitch and he failed, and so Mitch removed him from uh, all of his special assignments, and then
Oh, yeah.
he completely threw him under the bus as far as the Social Security stuff. I mean, like,
Yep.
completely threw him under the bus. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's it is good news to see Mitch McConnell uh, taking something seriously and not just sitting there with a stupid smile on his face.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and the thing is, it's good to see that both parties are acting the same way for a change. Where there's massive infighting in the party itself. I mean, Democrats have had a lock on that for years and years and years, where they threw each other under the bus the minute they could get a chance. So it's nice to see that the Republicans are starting to accept that type of governmental situation. I'm gonna say that it's the advent rising of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert that helped spur that on, and everything, because what's his name? Who's the guy from New York?
George Santos. George Santos,
the one that discovered super glue and produced one major Broadway musical. I think it was Hamilton. He wrote. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they have some of these people there in a position where the Republicans just can't deny that they're insane and hypocritical without making all of them look insane and hypocritical, which we've known for years is the case. Okay? But
yeah, the party's definitely been headed that direction for a long time.
Yes. But it's good news to see them starting to react to that and actually acknowledge that, especially with some of these people. And the vote for the Speaker of the House was 14 times. Was it 14 times or 13 times?
Total of 15.
15 times.
They had to take 15 votes before they settled on a speaker.
The fact that the Republicans are infighting more than the Democrats, because, I mean, I'm sure half the Democrats didn't want Pelosi at all and everything. Yeah. And the fact that she got through the first time just shows a little bit more unity.
Will Rogers is famous for saying that he didn't belong to an organized political party. He was a Democrat.
Yeah, that's pretty much the main reason Democrats lose so overwhelmingly most of the time. They just they can't activate their base because they don't have a base. They have bases, but whereas there's Republicans that can get in there and say, yeah, sure, the guy is hypocritical and he's violated almost all of the moral values that we say we uphold and stand and want to force down everybody's throats. But we can overlook that in order to make sure that we have somebody in the position of power that we want.
Who's not a Democrat.
Who's going to do one little thing maybe for us, who's not a Democrat. So, I mean, there's something to be said for that. In terms of unity.
Well, and the good news there is that all these people that want to do nothing more than cut taxes for rich people again can't seem to agree on how exactly they want to screw everybody up. And so I think Shakespeare said it best when he was talking about our current House of Representatives. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury and signifying nothing.
You know the problem with that statement? I'll tell you the problem with that the problem with that statement is the simple fact that you're quoting some sort of book that is not some sort of Rush Limbaugh biography or Anderson. I don't know. Anything. Birth of a Nation. I mean, if it came out of Birth of a Nation, it'd be much more acceptable in our school system than Shakespeare. Because Shakespeare is pretty ambiguous in some of its things, especially like with Puck and Midsummer's Night Dream. I mean, he's a guy, girl. I mean, he has goat hooves, but there's always a question there. He seems a little fruity type thing. Um, so I'm pretty sure, that was one of the books removed from the shelves in Florida. But
Oh, and all the cross-dressing in
yeah,
Twelfth Night.
yeah, yeah. On a plus side, the good news about Florida with the books is the simple fact that it does reduce overhead costs, and it is they're actually don't have to sit and worry about the fact that they're not being used in general because they don't read books anymore.
Yeah, cut out the middleman of
Yep,
not reading.
yep. If you don't have them there, then you don't have to worry about people not using them. See, it's all part of a greater plan. Okay, I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's really good news, but it's worrisome. So
supply
in the
side education.
what was that?
Supply side education. Cut
Okay,
off all the supply. You don't have to worry about the demand.
that's true. You got a point there. I mean, that's another topic and another focus on good news. I'm sure that's going to come up several times and everything. So, what's your wrap up take on the fact of one at the very end here? We're going to wrap up. What's your last take on the fact that Biden um, is had a healthy checkup? What's your big good
We
news
can
take on that?
we can expect the breakneck pace of judicial appointments to continue.
Okay.
We can expect that the White House will be able to push through more legislation like the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure bill. I think we can look forward possibly to further improvements on the Affordable Care Act.
Okay. Well, those are all
Well, sorry. New stuff is going to be problematic with all the Sturm and Drang in the House, but um,
the stuff that made it to the Senate already may have a
anything that can
chance.
make it to the Senate already has a chance. And judicial appointments don't involve the House, so we can count on that to continue.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Those are good pieces of news. And my good news takeaway from this whole thing is the fact that Biden is not, drinking and smoking pot, obviously, or tobacco. But there still is that question of amphetamines and sniffing glue. And the amphetamines, really, he's old, he keeps moving, he's doing things. So, hey, I guess you got to do it some way. So it's good news that there are ways of at least accessing amphetamines legally. So, well, I think that wraps up our good news for today. Again, we're going to try to be doing good news every single day, just because, and live broadcasts, just because if we don't do live, we're just not going to do them.
Editing
Because
is the devil.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so, um, well, you want to walk us out?
So this has been the good news by the Cult of Brighter Days. I am Richard the 50th, um, regional step pope of Northeast Wyoming.
It's amazing these titles that we're getting and how we're keeping them, but just remembering them is a challenge sometimes itself. I'm Michael Henderson Anderson, Johnny Panic Dorland, prefect of the acceptance of an overwhelming vermicelitude, and we will talk to you again tomorrow and bring even more good news. Thank you.
Until then.